Hello, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland, so welcome back to the channel again. And today is an oxymoronic day, so-called International Safe Abortion Day, that being a contradiction in terms, when the whole purpose of an abortion is to be as unsafe as possible for the child involved. The idea is that the death rate would be 100%. It is so-called medical procedure, but medical care would be about sustaining a heartbeat, not ending it, would be about sustaining respiration and not terminating it, and so forth. It would not involve vivisection or indeed killing the child before tearing up the body afterwards, and so forth. The interesting question is, do these babies die inside their mother's uteruses or after they come out? Obviously, sometimes it's inside, they're given feticide, that lethal injection, and the suffix side, as in genocide, that's what it's part of: parricide, infanticide, fratricide, matricide, sororicide, and so forth. And what else? By the way, I'm talking about human fetuses only. I realize the word fetus is applicable to other species as well, but there's the applicability of the word child, girl, boy to these victims. And feminism has boomeranged on itself, and there are a few pro-life feminists. Good for them, in as much as it has supported the ultimate act of discrimination, which is the murder of children just because they're girls, the ultimate in sex discrimination. So the majority of victims are female in countries like India and China, where boys are openly favored over girls by much of the population. So it really is horrific, lugubrious, and disgraceful. So we should stay the hand of violence and show mercy to these girls and boys who've never done anything wrong, the most vulnerable members of our society. I was speaking to a gay friend on the phone about this, and he said, well, I've got no dog in this fight because, I'm never going no child of mine will ever be conceived. He slipped out the word child. Uh-oh, he admitted we're talking about a human being here, and then wrote back, well, it's about choice. But we wouldn't want. Choice is not something we should absolutize. Choice to discriminate against people, choice to commit acts of violence against the innocent, and so on. So I'm generally pro-choice in the real sense. I support the choices of these babies, and they can only exercise these choices if they're born and grown up. The abortionist so-called choice is to take away every single choice from the victim. And then some of these abortionists or these women say, oh, I had no choice, when that's what they say when they know their choice is indefensible. And all right, if it saved the woman's life, go ahead. I don't know of a single person who would oppose that. I don't know of a single doctor anywhere in the world who's ever been prosecuted for an abortion to save a mother's life. It's a horrendous thing to do. I don't know how no one brings himself or herself to do that, but nobody would object to that. Two deaths would be worse than one. So it is disgraceful and disgusting. 60 million children murdered every single year. 60 million. The pandemic of female violence against children. And obviously some men are just as guilty because they encourage, coerce, threaten their girlfriends, wives, daughters, whoever, into doing this. They are the doctors, nurses, pharmacists. Behind us, the pharmaceutical executives, the judges, the politicians. So men are just as guilty. You might say women might have half an excuse in some case with the pain and difficulty of pregnancy, being left holding the baby if the father is a bounder and just doesn't help out or doesn't pay any child support. Of course, the argument that I can't bring up a child, I couldn't have looked after it, it's not it, it's she or he. I've heard that one before. Nobody says you have to. You can give birth and give your child up for adoption. Far from ideal, I admit, but surely that's better than death. And well, if this woman gives birth and she'll be in a shit situation, she might be, but she's not going to be killed, which is what's going to happen to the girl or boy. So incidentally, we're talking about human beings here. I do not object to the abortion of mice or the abortion of ocelots or blue whales or giraffes or any other species, only human beings. So, save the human. Why not? And it is nauseating that so-called human rights organizations like Amnesty International have taken up the cause of violence against children. Amnesty International, which is admirable on certain other issues, is utterly revolting on this one, that somehow the torture of the innocent is permissible if they're sufficiently small. that the weakest victims of all, that somehow ripping off limbs is okay. And I've seen this abortionist propaganda know that they won't feel pain, or it won't feel pain, because they don't have a fully developed central nervous system. Well, at some point they do towards the end, actually. So they have a mostly developed central nervous system, so they can still feel pain. But even if it were true that they felt no pain whatsoever, it'd still be completely unacceptable. Talk about inappropriate. Because imagine you could kill an adult painlessly. No, impermissible, and so on. Or Taylor Swift, someone whose music I appreciated. It's sickening what she said, giving her imprimatur to Kamala Harris, who is just beyond extreme at her pro-abortion zealotry. There will be babies in the womb who'll be responding to Taylor Swift's music. They can hear, and towards the end of gestation, they actually move in the womb, indeed, to music. You may have pressed, I've done this myself, on the womb, and they're kicking and they kick back and blah blah blah. So they interact with people outside the womb. There'll be her fans in the womb whom she's condemning to death. Wow, is absolutely foul. So someone saying, but a woman shouldn't be forced to give birth against her will. Well, she actually has exercised a choice already. She's done something which could lead to pregnancy. She and the man in her life that are responsible for this. They've done this, and these are the consequences they're going to have to live with. Actions have consequences, and indeed, the consequence of ripping a child apart is the death of that child. The consequence of asphyxiating a girl or boy is the death of that person, and so on. So save the babies. And I hear this one, but if we outlaw abortion, it will happen anyway, and women will die. Well, women die in legal abortion anyway. There are cases in the United States. They're given these dangerous poisons which kill the children, occasionally kill the mothers, or indeed an abortionist with these abortion weapons. That's what they are, not instruments, not tools. They sometimes accidentally or through inattention actually rip off a chunk of the mother's womb, and not just the baby, and then that can cause severe internal bleeding and kill her. But okay, if it's done illegally, the death rate may well be higher. But nobody suggests the death rate would be as high as 60 million a year. It'd be far, far lower. And this woman have brought it on herself. We have to point out, if you do something extremely dangerous and illegal, you might get killed, so don't do it. Okay? It's a choice. Choose life then. Yeah, and not all choices are acceptable when you think of what that would mean for the innocent victim of this choice. So save the babies. We've been around for 3.5 million years, and for most of that time, women would have several children. Okay, and a lot of the children wouldn't survive. So in advanced Western countries, women are having one or two children on average. You could choose to have no children. You could choose to refrain from sex, certainly from heterosexual vaginal sex. Okay, I wouldn't object to that at all. Use any form of contraception, get sterilized. These are choices. I support people's right to make any of these choices. The only choice is surely unacceptable is that of the murder of one's own child. It's an aggravating factor, not a mitigating factor, to do it to your own child. So we need to stop this now and have the most severe sentences for the abortion industry, for these abortionists who are promoting the ultimate act of violence against children. So it's very dispiriting, and absolutely sickening what's going on every single day. And when it's legal, it's in our name, with our money, taking away doctors, nurses, pharmacists from real healthcare, which would be saving people, leading the human race towards extinction. Now, it might never happen. I hope it never happens, but we're getting close to it. You might say, well, we've got 9 billion people, higher than ever. Well, that is true, but there's sub-replacement fertilities in more and more countries. Now, even if there was a population explosion, I would still be against abortion, because a child has the right to life, whether the population is growing or falling or whatever, whether this child is conceived in incest or rape, and it's horrendous what this woman has been through. So in this case, she really hasn't chosen to conceive, but surely that's not made better by killing a totally innocent person. We don't do it to the rapist, and we shouldn't do it to the rapist. So why should we do it to this child as well? She might come to love that child. There'll be people walking around now who conceived in rape who've got just as much right to life as I do, just as they did in the womb. They shouldn't be punished for it, and so forth. And if we do allow any cases of rape, we'll have even more women making bogus accusations. The police will be snowed under dealing with false accusations. Even more innocent men will be convicted of a crime they didn't commit. I suppose of the end of male heterosexuality, which is maybe part of the plan of the feminazis. So anyway, please join with me, and I often feel unworthy to lend my name to this cause. I'm no moral titan. I'm not even a particularly moralistic person. But surely it behoves every member of the human race to speak up against this ultimate injustice, the worst act of cruelty, the most satanic act of evil against the people who've never, ever done anything wrong, against a whole category of humanity who's going to be annihilated because they happen to fall into this category. And that's what genocide is all about. And I've read about in criminology, it's denial of victim. Oh, they don't count because they're whatever race or social class or nationality or something like that. Out of sight, out of mind, pretending it's a medical procedure. It is foul. Anyway, let's end abortion now. I'll have a comprehensive pro-life policy. If it's more child benefit, if it's whatever, if it's more contraception and more education, anything really to save children. Right. Thank you for watching my channel. And remember, it could have been you. You could have been in the womb with the instruments of torture coming towards you. You could have been the one who's about to be asphyxiated. It could have been you. You were in the womb. You were just as human then as you are now. You were just as alive then as you are now, even though you didn't know what the situation was. So it behoves us adults to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal. GeorgeCallahan79 at gmail.com. Goodbye.